Hello, everyone, and welcome to October's edition of Cooking from the Heart. I am your host, Danielle Motley-Lewis. This month, we are celebrating our veterans. We know that Veterans Day isn't until next month, but we have a very special deal that we'll be announcing toward the end of the show that we wanted to ensure veterans could take full advantage of during the entire month of November. So, for those of you who've been with me for a couple of months, I'm going to recap and level set for those who may be newer to our show and just tell you some of the benefits of our hemp seeds, better known as hemp hearts, is what we call them. So, hemp hearts are an excellent source of protein. They are a superfood. They are the protein is easier to digest than any animal protein. Hemp hearts are rich in omega fatty acids. They are rich in sodium and sulfur. They are rich in calcium and iron, and they are a complete source of energy and a complete source of food. So if I was stuck on a deserted island with one food, I would have to select hemp seeds so that I could definitely survive along with water. So food is always our first medicine. Today, our veterans that we have on the show will be showing how they incorporate hemp, cannabis, and other herbs into their health and wellness regimes. So, a little bit about veterans. So, as we all know, veterans often return home suffering from emotional and physical wounds that can include PTSD, sleeping issues, and chronic pain, just to name a few. Because of the federal laws banning cannabis, there's some work to do with the Veterans Administration as far as approving cannabis for use to help in the healing journey for veterans. So even though it's been shown by many, especially by those who are our guests today, to be an excellent way to ease suffering, cannabis is also an alternative to the slew of toxic and addictive medications that are often prescribed to our veterans. So I have 4 individuals that will join me today who will talk about their service, their healing journey, and their use of the cannabis plant. First, I'm going to bring on Mr. Leo Bridgewater. Mr. Leo Bridgewater Sr. was born and raised in Trenton, New Jersey. He may be family because most of my family lives there. In 2001, Leo enlisted into the United States Army in response to the attacks on September 11th in New York City and Washington, D.C. Leo spent 5 years as a telecommunications specialist with multiple deployments to Iraq. Leo separated from the Army in 2006 and spent 2.5 years working for the Department of the Army at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., as a Department of Defense contractor serving both Iraq and Afghanistan. Leo is an advisory board member for the Cannabis World Conference Business Expo and is the national director of Veterans Outreach for Minorities for Medical Marijuana. Leo is the co-founder of Canna Gather, New Jersey. So I look forward to hearing more about that. And he's also the Chief Impact Officer at Heart Community Capital. Leo is married to Dr. Lashana Bridgewater and has 2 children, Leo and Langston. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Mr. Leo Bridgewater.
Wow, thank you so much, Danielle. I swear, if I was white, I'd be red from blushing. That was a dope intro. Thank you.
You're welcome, family. Like I said, most of my family is in Trenton, New Jersey, so we need to chat offline about that.
The degrees of separation, I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So Leo, I read your bio. We know that you joined in response to the attacks on September 11th. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, up until that point, I, like every other American, was completely caught off guard with the attacks on September 11th. But one of the things that compelled me to enlist in the United States Army was the fact that up until then, I was living my best life. I was 26 years old. I was having fun. I was living in Raleigh, North Carolina, single. I was doing my thing. But then when that
I have
happened
family there too. Okay,
in
come on.
Raleigh, I went to St. Aug, and so
Okay.
and so for me, when September 11th happened, it awakened something in me that to be quite honest with you, hindsight being 2020, I was running away from, which is that call to serve. I'm my father served in Vietnam in the Marine Corps, my uncle in the Air Force, my grandfather in the Navy, my other grandfather in the Army. My firstborn nephew is currently active duty in the Navy. So up until September 11th, 2001, I was avoiding the family business, sort of say,
Okay.
and and at that time, my nephew was little, so was my niece and my other nephew. And when you're the single uncle, they're like your kids. And so I just couldn't imagine them having to make that fight. So I decided to, answer that call. And, up to this point, it was the best decision of my life in terms of, my willingness to serve. And once I took that oath, I knew it was for life. And so, although I'm no longer in the uniform, I'm still a soldier to a degree, and I still have a sense of duty. And so my works with, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, my entire journey in cannabis was out of a sense of duty. I testified in Senate committee to have post-traumatic stress disorder added as a qualifying condition to the New Jersey medical marijuana program. And at that time, the governor was Chris Christie, and he actually signed our bill into law, which made.
Okay. So before you go down that route, tell me. Let's start at the beginning of your advocacy. So what prompted that?
So at that point, I was up to about, I think as of today, I have 4 friends who attempted suicide and 3 were successful. And so what really got me started in my advocacy was the one who wasn't successful, I actually helped talk him down. And once I realized that, cannabis was something that was not available to him, it was something, I got into this like a lot of other people did, either something happened to them or somebody they love. And that's a completely different, type of motivation. I'm that relative that if you were in the hospital and you couldn't speak for yourself, I'm the one that's going to fight for you. Is this the right medication? How come these bed sheets ain't been changed? Where your wallet? All that type of stuff that you gotta, you need somebody to advocate for you. And I'm that cousin, I'm that one that's gonna hoop and holler, what I'm saying? If something ain't right, I want to know, and I'm gonna be a part of the treatment plan too.
Okay.
So that's really what it boils down to. And then through advocacy is how the business revealed itself.
Yeah.
And so that's how everything started to unfold, but particularly when it comes to my veteran status, because I represent that one demographic that's not defined by state lines. And so we can go all across the country, and people need to know your veterans, we're a very powerful tool, a useful tool, as long as we know what we're talking about. Because when I'm inside the State House or the Capitol, they talk to me different than they talk to you, Danielle. It's just different. And so when you have the ability or the tool of customs and courtesies and protocol, and you're able to follow them and have your talking points, we can move mountains, evidenced by getting PTSD and so forth. And I just talked to some members of Congress this morning about the Safe Banking Act, just to make that happen, given the veterans' perspective.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that journey. So we know about your advocacy. We know how that has, flourished into business for you. But let's talk about your personal wellness journey and the use of cannabis plant and other herbs. Like, can you share your journey in relationship?
Absolutely. To sum it all up, cannabis has helped me go from suffering from PTSD to living with PTSD. And it's funny when I say that to myself, when I hear myself say it out loud, because it sounds so simple, but folks have no idea the journey it took to be able to say, I went from suffering to living with. And I think that's one of the things that, when you come to mental health issues and stuff like that, that's one of those things that people just really don't really understand. And to be quite honest with you, veterans are just a microcosm of the rest of the country. It's just we highlight the things that are happening because, this country is so, so game for helping its veterans.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for sharing your personal journey,
Absolutely.
your advocacy. What do you want people to learn, who are watching this show? What do you want them to take away from this show?
Well, the first thing I would say is the first thing I would say I would want people to take away from this is, first of all, understand something. The thing that infuriates me the most about this kind of conversation is literally 2% of this plant literally takes up 98% of the conversation. And what I would hope for folks to be able to do is to expand their horizons, in particular when it comes to consumption of not just cannabis and hemp, but
right.
there are so
let me stop you right there for a moment. Explain for us, because I know what you mean by the 2% of the plant, but what do you mean by the 2% of the plant that takes up most of the conversation for those who aren't aware?
Absolutely. When I say 2% of the plant, it's like you most of the conversation is particularly when we're talking about shaping laws and stuff like that, be it on a municipal, state, or federal level, we're stuck on, we're still having the argument about gateway drug, if it's still a gateway drug or not. And, I try to tell people, someone who still says gateway drug is like the same as someone who still calls Black people colored. Like, ooh, what year are you? We ain't said gateway drug in years. And, and I often tell people, if cannabis and hemp, and truth be told, we don't even make the distinction updated in today's day, it's the same thing, but for the sake of argument, we have to make those distinctions. But if this was a television show, Danielle, me and you are in season 8, episode 4. A lot of these lawmakers and the general population, they're in season 1, episode 6. Spoiler alert, it's not a gateway drug. That's the season 1 finale. And so there are so many more applications to include, consumption through eating, through edibles, but then there's also the industrial hemp side of it all. And truth be told, when you look at industrial hemp, that's actually where the long money is. That's actually how we look. Danielle, you want to save Flint? Plant hemp. You want to save Flint, Michigan? Just plant hemp. Just plant it all over the place. It'll suck that stuff right up out of the ground. But then we could take those stalks and we could actually rebuild the hood. We can build stronger houses that are fireproof, that are antimicrobial, we can make clothes. And you want to know what the problem with hemp clothes is? They last too long. Sound like a good problem to me.
That sounds like an excellent problem. So the takeaway, there's so much to do. Yeah, there's so much that can be done with this plant. And the conversation is about more than just the 2% that's generally talked about, which is THC and CBD. So, okay. All right. So let's get to our first guest chef, because we have a full show lined up for you guys. So I'm going to move over to Miss Christina. So let me read her bio. Christina Thomas. Following her medical retirement from the Air Force, Ms. Thomas made it her personal agenda to be an advocate for veterans, families, and those facing adversity. After her advocacy around the nation for kidnap and rape survivors was discovered by national leaders, she was asked to come and educate on behalf of military sexual assault victims during legislative session, where she was congressionally awarded at the Veterans Brain Trust Congressional Black Caucus in 2019. Ms. Thomas' growing reputation as an effective and dedicated community leader led her to her appointment, to the Veterans Mental Health Advocacy Council in 2020. As a mind, body, spiritual practitioner and serial entrepreneur, She is the creator and founder of Herbally Free LLC and the owner of Living Free Souls, a mind, body, spirit service network of affiliates to help individuals find the service they need on their wellness journey. She has served as a certified wellness advocate, an instructor, holistic and spiritual healing mentor. I need her services. Come on now. A certified medical cannabis care consultant, and a plant medicine practitioner. Okay. She volunteers and provides medical grade products to the homeless and those facing disparity. She and her husband, Tim, have been married for 16 years, and they are parents to one child, Timothy Isaiah. Everyone, please join me in welcoming this phenomenal woman, Miss Christina Thomas.
Hey, everybody.
Well,
thank you so much. Oh, I'm so excited to see this come into fruition. This is so important, and all of those that are watching, I hope that you know that, they call me the truth for a reason. I am not about that life to sit here and lie to you, because life's too short, and we're here to heal and get to our full purpose. So let's go. Let's go for it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Miss Chris, as I will call you the rest of the show. Mr. Bridgewater, he will be setting the stage with us and talking to you comrade to comrade first. Well, let me just go ahead and get started. You ready, Leo?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to grab my list.
Okay.
Hey, Leo.
Hey,
start
Miss
them off.
Chris, how you doing?
So good. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for advocating. I can't do this alone. I cannot do this alone. It takes community. It takes us being one. It takes us remembering our integrity. It takes us remembering that, we all need to be able to do this for one another. It's not about, that selflessness or selfishness. It's just about coming together and being one unit. And I'm just blessed to see you. And thank you so much. I'm not that cliche chick for your service. I'm saying thank you for sacrificing everything that you sacrificed to be able to stand here today. I know you sacrifice. Yes, thank you.
It's up to me and you, the teacher, to tell them how it really goes down. So.
That's right. That's right. And I'm just blessed that we can. So I didn't know if you wanted to start asking the questions about, how this came about, cannabis journey, and all of that mental wellness. I know that it's imperative that individuals do know that there are veterans out here every day. A lot of stigma that comes with veterans. I do a lot of work, to break that. Not every veteran has PTSD, but everybody can have PTSD. Yep. Let's keep it real. So veterans just are a representation of a very small population of your community, and your community. So being an ambassador for where we're from is what we're supposed to do. And so I want to go ahead before we start and let you know that this can be mindfulness. Cooking is mindfulness. That helps us get out of that ruminating thought, being able to put things in action, because, a stagnant mind is a dangerous mind. So we got to make sure that, we got this thing going. So, hey, your direction, Leo, where are we going?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is, again, thank you for your sacrifice as well. And I think it's important for people to understand, because I love the way you talk. Us veterans, we're mission oriented, and we have a way of putting blinders on, especially when we figure out what the mission is. And so it's just about getting it done. And I believe what you're doing is actually providing a public service as well, because this is almost uncharted territory for a lot of people who are going from kind of curious to kind of serious, and are trying to figure out, how does this all work? And I believe that people should be able to have their horizons expanded in terms of how they are going to consume their hemp and their CBD and their cannabis as well through eating. And it's all a learning process. Us regular cannabis consumers, we know how many times we need to hit a joint before you actually feel it. But most people are not in tune to how fast their bodies digest food. In particular, when it comes to CBD cookies or THC cookies as well, edibles, and so could you explain to people, like, in layman's terms, like, what it means to how do you properly consume your cannabis through edibles without going overboard? And because a lot of people get turned off when they make that mistake of consuming too much. So how do we avoid that?
Well, for starters, I think it's important that I do a little bit of education. I'll try to keep it on a very simplistic level, but we have to absolutely begin to talk about our consumption of all things. First of all, let's talk about our mind. If you're not mentally there, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna keep it real. Me puff passing, I still got that problem when I get done. It's just gonna make it easier for me to handle it, right? Let me just keep it real. But let's just talk about that stress and those cortisols and all those things going into the body. That's going to affect your cannabis. I'm going to keep it real with you, okay?
Mhm.
Your hormonal expressions of however you're doing your dopamine, whether it's doing numbers or not. You go and smoke a sativa, you already got your dopamine doing numbers. You're going to feel real good. That
Mhm.
next one may not feel like that. So
Mhm.
that's why I brought it up. Your mood is going to make a difference. But your phytonutrients is going to make a huge difference. You eat like crap, you drink alcohol, you don't have the proper healthy fats inside of you, you have absorption issues from chronic illnesses. If you do not have those absorption issues, you still have to recognize that your cannabis has to be absorbed properly for you to get the complete effects and benefits. So that absorption rate, coupled with other phytonutrients, is imperative for you to get the full effect. So that means if you're just doing a puff pass with your friend, but you had something that was high in myrcene, so you had like a mango and a beer, guess what? You're going to be sluggish. That's going to end up taking your effects of those terpenoids and that chemobar profile to a new level. So that means for someone that's facing chronic to terminal disease like myself, it is imperative that I have a dosage and a concentration of what my meals look like so that I have a complete wellness approach that when I am consuming. As you know, the consumption of your edibles are going to be a lot longer lasting and 2 times the effects because it's metabolized through your liver. Anything that's going to be metabolized through your liver is going to have an effect. That means your metabolism, all of that. If it's a fatty liver, if you got, like, again, digestion problems, let's just say that you wanted to use something that was not nano. That degradation, these seeds that we have, they're holding in place through the entire digestion. This
Mhm.
is the oil. This is your protein. So I think of it like this. This is a phytonutrients and an herb. We talk too often about the bud. Let's stop talking about just the bud. That's the effect, okay?
Right.
That's just the effect. What he said, we could fix Flint. If we could fix Chernobyl with hemp, why didn't we do this for Flint? Sorry, I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay focused. Okay, so phytonutrients. I just don't understand how we over in Chernobyl, but we ain't doing this over here and we need some water. Just
Danielle,
keeping it
you
real.
want a couple of veterans on this show? It's about to
Look,
get live real quick.
it's about to get live. She don't know. We don't have no filter. So the truth is the importance of us knowing our consumption, whether it is what we are seeing, whether it's what we are eating, smelling, hearing, touching, feeling, that is all a part of our wellness, which means that's all going to affect our cannabis consumption. I also want to bring into consideration, and we're going to be talking about all of the organ systems and how what I'm preparing is going to help. I have something called demyelination central nervous system disease that's unspecified, so it attacks my eyes as well as the rest of me. Think MS when I say that disease, except on crack. So it on top of the influence of Agent Orange. So I have a lot of things that I am treating all at once. And the only thing that has enough cannabinoids to spread across that is cannabis. There's over 140 cannabinoids that we know of, and terpenes enough that goes across this spectrum and wrap the world 18 times. There's terpenes for everything. That is just the essence of each flower and herb that you are enjoying. So with this, I am also taking into consideration of adding in terpenes. You could do that with your essential oils, right? I need some pinene today. Well, I could take some rosemary once I'm done with this and dump this in here and increase my full spectrum cannabis consumption. So you're adding in to give you the full effect.
Full benefit, yeah.
Absolutely. So you remember the cannabis plant has 140 cannabinoids. It doesn't mean it's the only one with cannabinoids. So couple it, make an entourage effect, and make sure that what you are doing is not hurting the consumption rather than helping. And when I say that, that means do not drink alcohol with your cannabis. If you are using it for a healing method, you are destroying it. So just keep that in mind. The reason
Chris,
that I chose us.
Real quick. So in terms of, because when you're talking about terpenes, you know, this is, again, because we could geek out so much that, you know, regular folks, we will get lost in translation and get turned off. Could you explain what terpenes are, one, and then two, in this explanation, could you also talk about the importance of the correct strain? Because every strain isn't what you're looking. It's not about how high you can get, it's what high. And how every strain doesn't actually work well with every taste. So I wouldn't be making, you know, fudge brownies with White Widow, Bridge
head cheese,
and all that. It's those things off. And so
now,
Miss Chris,
you're gonna have to give us the 60-second version of that, because we need to get to your delicious
okay,
meal that
so
you're
60
going to
seconds.
prepare for us. So 60 seconds.
60 seconds. Okay, 60 seconds. So with the strain, I'm gonna see if I have anything here. So limonene, let's start with limonene. Okay, terpene is pretty much the smell and essence of any single plant that has a flowering bloom. So when you smell lavender, you're smelling linalool. That. So that is scientifically what it is called once it's broken down in a molecular level. Lemon for limonene. So let's say you want to be uplifted. You want more of a sativa uplifting effect. You're going to add that into your foods. And you can also at the same time alkaline your diet. So you're going to be able to have an alkaline water that you put in food, because the lemon from the limonene and others will be able to boost that. Now, if you have something that's more lemony, lemonade, lemonade, different strains, orange, you know, so those type of things you want to make, like say a smoothie, add in something like your orange juice, which has a higher level. You can have an orange juice that can actually have myrcene. That's that too. Myrcene can be found in mangoes. That smell and essence is going to be a little bit more sweeter. And that means that your terpenes are giving you the essence, again, of what the flavor of your medicine and your food is going to taste like. Hope I did it in 60.
Yeah, you did a wonderful job. And we have folks posting in their Facebook that they are loving this conversation. I hope they are all taking notes. So
take notes, because we go deep. I geek out.
Miss Chris, please tell us, what are you preparing for us today?
I decided that I was going to take with this superfood, and if we can pop over, I decided that I'm going to do a superfood smoothie. And the reason why I'm doing this in particular, I decided to do things, like I said, I'm using cannabis, so I use mangoes and another superfood to couple with that. So I have peaches and strawberries along with pineapples, and that's a lot of the vitamin C's that you need. So you want to be able to have your vitamin C, which is an absorbic acid. All of your foods that you're eating is going to need some type of absorbic acid. The same way that you look at anything else with your vitamins. You should be taking vitamin C with your vitamins so that you can have full absorption. What I also have over here is another plant, almond milk. This is original. There's nothing extra. As you've heard with hemp hearts, they have calcium and protein. Almond does as well. Coconut water, being able to add those electrolytes and all of that after a long day. And then I'm going to give you the alkaline water to just put in case I have to put a little bit more. For sweetener, we can put in agave just in case it's not to taste the way that we want. And of course, as we've seen, we have our hearts that is in here.
Okay. Yes, we see them.
Okay. Beautiful. So first things first, you know, so we're going to go ahead and I'll put this in view. So I'd like to go ahead and put in, decided to do a little cup of almond, and then we're going to put in our phytonutrients and all of that, right? And I'd like to be able to add in, I'm going to add in the hearts once this is blended up a little bit, and I'm going to throw in that coconut water. I'm gonna look at that. I'm gonna put about half of that, and then we're gonna throw in the alkaline water, and that's gonna give the fruits a little more nourishment and bring it up after it's been frozen. If you do not like, if you're in a desert like myself, I'm in Las Vegas, and you have crappy food because you're in a food desert, make sure that you freeze when you have good foods. Buy enough, chop them up, and freeze them. I'm originally from North Carolina on the Virginia border. I'm a country girl, and I grew up off the land on a 100-year-old century Black-owned farm. So I grew up in herbalism as well as off of all of your nutrients, therefore preserving and doing all of that. So I'm going to mute myself while we blend this so you don't hear all of that, and then I'll be showing you what I'm pouring in.
Okay. All right. So while she is mixing that, I mentioned earlier that we have an amazing deal for our veterans during the month of November. And if we can post that, we have a buy one, get one free. So for any veteran who goes to our website, www.hempandfork.com, the code is BOGO, so BOGO. You're going to buy a bag of hemp parts and get one free. And if you are the loved one or friend of a veteran, we're not going to discriminate. You can make a purchase as well, but we do ask that you do give the other bag, the free bag, to a veteran. So that will be happening and available the entire month of November. So head over to the website. That will be live in a few moments, I believe. All right. So Miss Christina, Miss Chris, are we ready?
We are ready. And the reason that I made this a little more watered is because of my digestion. I want to make sure that I am getting this, and I already have the natural healthy fats in this. So everybody's like, well, why is their smoothie that way? Well, the reason why is I have absorbed it. I have Crohn's as well. So with that, I need to be able to absorb and not cause any more inflammation or hard things. So right now I'm eating soft diets and things that are easy to digest. These parts will stay in the system long enough without the degradation of the acids in my stomach. So this is important for individuals that are fighting stomach, conditions. Take care of it. So this protein from the heart is so important because when you are building up your myelin sheath, which is the clear coat on top of your nerve, so those of you that have MS or demyelination, Devitt's disease, all of those with the demyelinations, you're going to be building it perfectly. It's got protein. That's the whole name of the game. Rebuild and rejuvenate. The only way you can do that is with certain cannabinoids in the cannabis plant and a few other phytonutrients, blueberries and things like that. So let's pour it in and see how this tastes.
Okay.
Right?
It looks good. It doesn't have to be creamy or thick. That looks nice and nutritious. So how does it taste?
It tastes amazing. Yes. Let's go back over here. It tastes amazing. Oh Lord, I'm dropping stuff.
I saw it as soon as she spoke it, not a problem.
No, but it does. It tastes amazing, and it doesn't have that cashew taste that may be a little more nutty. But because of the phytonutrients with the almond, you don't taste the nuttiness of it. I would suggest anybody that's blending it, blend it a little bit more like it's a seeded, fruit, so that it doesn't, taste all kind of gritties and stuff. But even then, there's just something to chew on,
And that's actually a great point that you made about those who can't eat seeds because of their diets or different things that they may be trying to overcome, that you can put them in a smoothie or make them softer or make them into a milk to incorporate them, but just don't, discriminate against the hemp heart because you think you can't digest the seed. So that's excellent. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Christina. You know what? I hope people were taking notes. If not, they're going to have to run this back with you, or we're going to have to do a part 2. But I have to move on to our next chef. Our next chef, Jose Bellen. So let me get his bio. We're going to head over to, I believe he's in Orlando, Florida. So Jose Bellen is a decorated United States Army artillery combat veteran who served 2 concurrent combat tours of duty during Operation Iraqi Freedom. A native of Amsterdam in upstate New York, 19 18-year-old Jose enlisted after graduating high school. After training, he deployed in 2003 during the initial liberation of Iraq and survived 14 consecutive months in active combat. After his honorable discharge in 2005, Jose struggled with reintegration, as many veterans do, and found himself leaving his native New York for Florida on September 11, 2007. He left New York and started a family with his wife, Danielle. What a beautiful name. And they have 2 children. In 2018, Jose and Danielle created Mission Zero Actual Inc. This is an organization that is dedicated to proving severe PTS and PTSD is not terminal for U.S. veterans and their families. Since its inception in 2018 to present day, the organization has established solid social engagement footprint for isolated veterans and their families to benefit from. Jose can be described by 3 words: versatile, real, and limitless. These core elements ensured Jose's survival on the battlefield, even while facing certain death. Now Jose aims to keep the realness here at home while battling PTSD using his God-given talent that took his hands from instruments of war, into instruments of love and unity. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Jose Bellen.
Hello, everybody.
Oh my gosh, you got me over here crying, sir.
Hey,
it's an honor. It's an honor. Thank you for your service.
Likewise, thank you so much. So real.
He's made me cry. Jose's made me cry a bunch of times. Danielle, he has my support group, so it's not a fluke. He got that.
Amen, brother. We got that.
He does. Well, I'm going to let the 2 of you talk for a moment, and I'll be right back.
Amen. Thank you.
Jose, man, thanks for doing this with us tonight, man. I really appreciate you coming on and providing this public service of showing folks a different platform and how to consume, their cannabis and hemp, and
Absolutely.
Expanding, folks' horizon, or broadening their horizons on how they consume their cannabis, and also providing a glimpse as to some of the ways in which you and I consume our cannabis in a much more healthier manner.
Yeah.
So I can't thank you enough for all that you have done for me and all the other veterans that are a part of our group. And I'm so happy that I get to share this part of you with the world. So please, tell us what you're doing, man.
Oh, bro, this is so incredible. Thank you for this opportunity, and to those watching. This is a blessing to be years later connected in this manner, celebrating what seemed to be the impossible at the time, and that is progress. And that's what this show represents. That's what you represent, Leo, myself, and all the veterans in the group and beyond. Artistically, have a lot of great things happening. Alex, I think, just posted something in the chat, so I'll give a little teaser that going to be bringing a little flavor to Art Basel this year in Miami with Vet Basel. But before that, all right, I want to get into the cooking, bro. So no, honestly, man, it's just an honor to be here, man. So I follow you.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. And listen, can you talk about how you arrived at being able to really, take that leap into going beyond just burning flower?
Right.
Like what brought you there? How did you start on the path of expanding those horizons, as I alluded to earlier?
Just having to hit rock bottom, to be honest with you.
Wow.
You know, when you almost implode, and then you watch everything around you. You know, and I'm speaking from a combat, vet perspective, from a severe case of PTSD and my own struggle to get to this point. And I often speak of the purpose of failure sometimes, the purpose of falling down, because we're going to get back up and you gain strength in that. And so, just more having the right people in my life, like yourself, at those moments. Shout out to Jeff DeMond, the Grateful Veteran, and all those out there, but the family element too. My wife, having, a core group of folks that understood that, this was just not, a way for me to just get high, right? This wasn't,
Right.
Just wreck. This was actually something that, was needed when it was clear that the medications from the VA
Right.
were never going to work for me. There, came the battle that I knew one day I'd have to stop them cold turkey. And this year, I actually celebrate 2 years and 3 months of that decision, right? So I've been, it was one of the hardest, journeys of my life. Was on them for 14, 15 years since coming home from war. So once I saw that little glimmer of light, it was like Deion Sanders, you know what I'm saying? Or, Barry Sanders, man, you just go. And once that clicked, it's like, if I'm just responsible with this, if I educate myself and surround myself with winners, this is possible. So came down to education, brother, and just wanted to do this for the family and for everybody.
Can you talk about how, take a little bit of I want you to take a little bit of a deeper dive, because I think this is really important, because I think people don't realize, just how bad the whole pill popping thing is for us. I mean, Jose, we talk about this in our support group all the time. They mailing those things to us now.
Yes.
And, Danielle and I talked to Chef Chris just a little while ago, and, she was she was showing us exactly how, she's able to incorporate, things like hemp heart in her diet, and how it's changed it. So how has it impacted you?
Absolutely.
How do you, what did you, you already seen that it's starting to wean you off of, the opioids and the alcohol, all that stuff. How did that?
It was a force multiplier, because we know that scientifically it shows that, our tummies interact with our minds, right? So if we're not eating right, that's going to be part of our struggle every day, so it was all encompassing, of just really looking at the alcohol for what it was doing. It was damaging my body. Look at, what am I eating on a day-to-day basis? And I have an opportunity where I'm about to hit 40 this coming May, God willing. I'm at half-life per se. It's all about smart decisions, smart choices. The term diet, it's like a double-edged sword, because we're creatures of habit.
Yeah.
So it's understanding that me incorporating, these elements into my diet today has everything to do with me charting out my path into my 50s, into my 60s.
Yeah.
That has everything to do with being holistic.
Yeah. Go ahead, Danielle. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. If you had something to say.
I said this earlier. Cannabis and hemp has helped me go from suffering from PTS to living with PTS.
Yes.
And and that's such a broad statement now that I think about it, because it's like, well, in what way, and Danielle, truth be told, and Jose can back me up on this, when you're in that fog of the pills, because that's what they give you, traditional practice says we treat PTSD with pills, but the thing is that, Danielle, when you in it, it's like you watching yourself in a movie.
Absolutely.
You don't have you it's you, but you can't control you, sort of, kind of like your body's not as responsive or as acute or sharp as when you off.
Right.
And what this has done for folks like us, and listen, post-traumatic stress disorder is not a veteran only thing, even though that's what they do. They put it on us. But it's not a veteran only thing. If the general population were to actually take a deep dive into what PTSD is, it literally will help explain either themselves or people they related to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how bad, because I can go from one end of Stuyvesant Avenue to the other, and I'll come out with PTSD. I live in Trenton, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Jose, you know what time it is.
Oh, I know what time it is, bro.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where, like, because, hemp has been taken out of the food chain, our body, our endocannabinoid systems are really, really deprived. And once, I started incorporating cannabis in all forms into my life, coupled with my support group and people like Jose, because we have to hold each other up. And, me and Jose have been there for each other in some really dark moments.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really, and we don't need to go into what they were, but it's just one of those things where if I did not have those things in my life, if Jose didn't have those things in his life, I'm not going to sit here and say we won't be here, but life would be very difficult for us right now because we'd be forced to stay within those pills. And, like Danielle, they passing them pills out at the VA like it's candy.
Yeah.
It's just that bad.
And thank you for sharing a little bit more of your journey, Leo, and how you've incorporated the entire plant, hemp, cannabis, it's all the same, but that you needed it all in order to truly heal. So we do have to get to Jose's delicious meal that he's going to prepare. Not sure what it is. I cannot wait to see it. But what are you preparing for us today, Jose?
The kitchen has a special place for me. Growing up with my mom, the one place that was always safe was the kitchen. And that goes back to my grandmother that just recently passed on 9/11. And baking has always been a large tradition in my family. So tonight I'm actually going to make, something fun, kind of allowing me to tap into that, baking with mom back in the day and still do to this day. I think she may be watching. So, I want to dedicate this to the years spent in the kitchen. My mom, she makes everyone's birthday cakes and whatnot. So I'm going to do cinnamon swirl crumb cake with hemp hearts.
Okay. I love it. Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for sweets, so I know we're talking about obviously the healthy, but, I'm at the end of the day, as real as they come, so this is something that I wanted to do fun with everyone and just maybe get some veterans if they're watching. Start baking, guys. It's actually pretty fun.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead and show what's your first, how do you incorporate the hemp seeds, the hemp hearts into your...
Absolutely. It's pretty basic as far as the recipe. So what I'll do, the scoops, I'm going to measure out about 12.5 grams each.
Okay.
So I'll do 2 scoops of the hemp hearts. And like I said, for me, like one thing that my family and I do, together, is we bake a lot or cook a lot. Like I said, go up to my mom. So on the PTSD side of things, cooking kind of allows you to just get creative. I love working with my hands as an artist. So, getting in here, I feel like I'm in the lab. So
that's my favorite place in the room, in the apartment, is the kitchen. If I could spend all day in the kitchen, I would.
So I already got the oven preheated to 350. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is put a 1/4 cup vegetable oil in here. And again, this to me is important, kind of going a little out of my element. On a cooking show, I appreciate the opportunity, to kind of put veterans in this light, and show a little bit, of our creative side and versatility. So
absolutely.
Because years ago, this definitely wouldn't have been happening. And shout out to Eric Range for always keeping it, real
shout
simple.
Out.
So 2/3 cups of water.
Now, you mentioned the kitchen and cooking allows you to be creative. I know because I read your full bio
Yeah.
that you do something else that's a bit creative, and I think you have, um, one of your pieces shown there
Yeah.
behind that bowl. But can you speak to that while you're preparing
Oh,
this?
absolutely. Yeah. So, art was a gift that just was given to me by God on Memorial Day, 2020. Instead of making the wrong choices and, letting my emotions get the best of me, I called my best friend and said, "Hey, you want to help me make a flag in memory of my buddies that I lost in combat?" And we went to Lowe's, picked out the wood, and the second I painted the first red stripe on the American flag I made, it allowed me to heal from something that happened on the battlefield that I'll leave out regarding to the remains and me handling them. And so, once that happened, it was just something that the VA couldn't give me. No, medicine of this world could give me, and it was a spiritual release of that pain and manifest that pain into work, into art. So the piece, I have here is actually going to a good friend of mine in Las Vegas. And, I've been able to make flags for families, across the United States. Any veteran that, was lost on the battlefield, deemed a Gold Star family. I started donating my work shortly after getting started. I realized that that's where the healing is for myself and for everyone in the process. So, as I do this here tonight, a year and a half later, it's crazy, to say that I found my calling in art, but I had to go through all those dark times. I had to, lose it all, in a sense, almost lose my family, myself. And all I want to do is get to that brother or sister before they get to that point. Let them know, that there is a way. I worked in corporate America for 10 years and was very successful all the while battling, something that I thought for a long time was terminal. Like I never thought I could be happy again. But that's where the art comes in. And so, I create to motivate anyone who today is walking in darkness, and that's what this is all about. So many people, I was one of them, would front with the smile on my face like everything was okay, but
Yeah.
there's, a lot of people that today walk in darkness. And if you're someone that today is walking in the light and you're feeling great, use that to shine it on somebody that's not having a good day, because it doesn't cost you anything. And so that's why, in a way, I think we should all create stuff. So get in the kitchen, get in, Hobby Lobby, buy some paint, take a risk.
Right. Absolutely.
All right.
Get to
So,
painting, get to cooking, get on the Hemp&fork website and get your hemp hearts. And as you can see,
yes.
you can add them to almost anything.
Yes.
So
So,
Jose, I'm going to have to move over to our next chef, but we're going to
yep.
come back to you to see our finished product. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the next chef, and I have a guest of honor here. My daughter Isla was informing me that she wanted to join me, so she's going to be here with me for the next few moments. So our next chef is Shaun Salvaje. So Shaun is a United States Air Force retired combat photographer and documentary journalist working at the intersection of entheogenic education, food as medicine, and human performance optimization. She will definitely have to tell us more about that. As the executive producer of Highly Informed, Shaun explores stories from the front lines of the drug war, untangling cannabis collective to better understand the labor of love that is legalization, and how it all smokes out to affect your personal experience of man's shared reality. I love your bio, Shaun. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Shaun. Hello.
Hi, y'all. I am so happy to be here. I actually just got here. Let's see here. We're turning on the second cam so you guys can get the food.
Okay.
I just got here because I was stuck in traffic, y'all. I was supposed to be here earlier, but I think it's actually perfect for the recipe that we're cooking today. because we're going to do something special with these, something quick, easy, and suitable for Canada moms everywhere. So
Perfect.
Thank you so
Tell
much.
us what.
That was such a nice introduction, by the way. Thank you.
You are very welcome. What are you making for us today, Shaun?
So today we are going to take your beautiful hemp hearts and we're going to make a crispy, nice and easy granola that's keto friendly, unless you're using the honey. So even then, it's not keto friendly, but it is paleo. So and better for you.
There we go.
So we've got oh yeah, I forget. I have a second camera down here. We've got, do you guys have the second camera up? There we go.
We do.
We've got your seeds, a little Texas honey.
Okay.
We're getting back. There we go. We want to keep it raw and pure, especially because, you know, you guys were talking earlier, those are the hemp hearts. Some coconut flakes. We're going to have cranberries, walnuts. This is my mise en place. I got it ready. We're going to sweeten it with dates.
Okay.
Dates are a wonderful keto-friendly sweetener. And pumpkin seeds. So we're going to blend that all up in the processor. But while I do that, honestly, you guys, this recipe is so easy. You can bring it back up to the top camera. This recipe is so easy. All you have to do is throw it all in a blender and bake it for an hour. That's it. It really takes only 10 minutes, and you can add it on top of your yogurt. Here, we can do this. We can throw it in the blender. I don't know if you guys can see the blender.
We can see the blender, yes.
Perfect. Hopefully you can't see the whole mess on the stove because
everything looks perfect.
You guys, you know what's funny? And we're going to put it on top of my favorite. It's Greek honey. It's Greek yogurt, but honey.
Greek yogurt honey.
Yes. It gives that honey flavor, gives it like this little extra sharp punch. You guys you're going to laugh at this. Right before you were like, we're going to go to our next chef, I turned on my blender to make sure it was working. And I accidentally blended the other half of my Ninja. I forgot it was here. So now there's Ninja all over the place, but don't worry, we're good. I already rinsed it out. We're just going to throw all of that, not the dates. You throw the coconut into the food processor, throw your nuts. I've got almonds, walnuts. We've got cranberries and raisins in here.
Okay. So did you toast the coconut prior to putting in the blender, or is
I did not toast it, and I do not. I don't toast because you're going to bake it. If you bake it and you toast, you're gonna burn it.
Gotcha.
So in the food processor, you put your big nuts. I did put the coconut chips, and we put the pumpkin seeds. We are gonna wait on the dates because the dates will also scorch if you put them in too soon. So you're going to put it on 250. You're going to put everything in, pulse it for a little bit. You don't want it to be too thin. And then we can come back up here because actually we're done. That's cooking. That was it.
So I noticed that you have walnuts. I noticed that you had walnuts in the recipe. Those can easily be changed out or swapped out with a different type of nut?
If you're allergic, you can take almonds out if you have food allergies. What I love about this recipe is that it's so quick and easy to make, and it's perfect for Canada moms on the go, especially if you're a woman working in cannabis, not just consuming. Your schedule is crazy, and you have to be able to balance that. But what I love the most about it is that the hemp seed that you have in these from the Hemp&Fork, and anything, if you infuse it, if you so choose, and you're in a legal state, if you infuse it, basically all the antioxidants, so the berries that I chose, the cranberries, the walnuts, the almonds, all have antioxidants in them. And cannabis, the cannabinoids in cannabis or hemp, whichever one you're using, whether it's CBD, THC, whatever, that plant is a bridge. So it helps to carry the antioxidants and the vitamins and the nutrients into your system through the endocannabinoid system and other digestive systems. It's just a good plant. It helps you get the good nutrients. It's a bridge not only for vitamins and nutrients, but as the other veterans were saying, it's really a bridge for amplifying the good effects of positive thinking and mental wellness, and even in some cases medication. It can help with medication if you are on a high dose and you want to go down to a lower dose. Not completely pharmaceuticals, but I think they need to be a last measure. I would so much rather see us do health and human performance optimization, like what we had talked about. over medicines and whatnot. Actually, that's why I got my 10th point representing jujitsu, because I feel like for veterans, getting out there, being physical, being mindful of what you're consuming, and getting involved with your nutrition, health, and wellness is really key. So if we're doing all of that and we're also trying to manage time, what's the best way we can do it? Through a granola on top of our yogurt. And then we can.
I have a question for you. Hey, so listen, quick question. So you know how whenever you're doing baked edibles like brownies or something, and you know how when you're doing flour, you have to decarboxylate the flour first? When you're doing hemp hearts, is there like a type of activation that comes with, toasting and everything with hemp heart, rather like as it is with, THC?
I don't think so. With the hemp hearts, no. So the hemp hearts, you get the benefits and the nutritional benefits of the hemp seed directly.
Right.
The reason we have to decarboxylate flour is because that's what activates those cannabinoids that we're trying to use, like THC. If you're using that, or even CBD, CBG, CBN, whichever one is in your plant. So the thing about the plant is everybody thinks, oh, THC is cannabis and CBD, CBN, all the other ones, that's hemp. It's all the same plant.
The same thing.
The way to activate that is through heat. So you have to get to a certain temperature. I believe it is 230 degrees for full decarboxylation. But yeah, like what Eric is saying on Facebook, you can use them raw. These seeds don't need any activation. So that's why they're so good to throw inside a green smoothie, put on top of Greek yogurt, any kind of fast snack that you need. And it's also total and complete nutrition. Because one thing that we don't think about often in cannabis, like let's look at the cannabis edibles market, it's a lot of sugar. Not the best stuff for medical patients, especially what we're talking about. So if you're making your own edibles, if cannabis is a bridge, and it is, there's research papers to back that up. If cannabis is a bridge and you're consuming sugars and gelatins and things that aren't necessarily good for you, sometimes when I get people who say they have bad experiences with edibles, the first thing I usually jump to is you're probably consuming an edible that isn't really, it isn't well thought out in terms of inflammation and what it might be activating in your system, because not everybody is aware that they're sensitive to things like sugar or, gluten is a really popular one, and that's common in a lot of edibles, but even gluten intolerance, it's kind of passe. Like everybody has a gluten intolerance. Not everybody really does, but whether it's sugar or other substances, it's mostly sugar. It's really sugar, y'all. I love sugar.
This really should have been a 2-hour show. Like the gems that you guys are dropping, it's hard to cut everyone off, but we have to. But Shaun, before we move on, we jumped right in to your, food, your demonstration.
I wanted to see the finished
product. But we want to know a little bit more about you. Just share, give us the quick and dirty 60-second version, why you enlisted, how much time you served, and just tell us, a little bit of your journey.
Here is the quick and dirty. I enlisted at the age of 20. I was going to Baylor. I wanted to be a war photographer. I had fallen in love with James Knockway's work. My mom and dad had both served in the Army, so I was an Army brat. And my mom had deployed to Iraq, and I saw how horrific Geraldo's coverage was when he drew out maps. And I was just like, you know what? Someone probably needs to come do this job right and tell this story. I didn't realize like where that story would take me. And so I served 13 years in the Air Force, eventually reaching the top of what I consider the top of my career, being a media broker in New York for the Pentagon, which was really big. I produced episodes for HBO and Vice, CBS, ABC. And then I retired out, and thank you. It was a lot of work because, to start from the bottom, especially as a minority female, I'm Mexican, I live in Texas. It's not always easy. That's why I enlisted. I knew if I really wanted to be a journalist and get to the field, actually get a chance to go to the field, I would have to find an original and creative way to get there, because if I was going to take the traditional paths, I'd be pouring coffee for some editor for probably 7 or 8 years before I actually got a shot. And I wasn't willing to waste that much time. So I enlisted because I figured they'll send me to the war for free. So I attached to a few different units, saw what different units were going through. I worked with some special operators and saw what Guardian Angels were doing over there, rescue missions. I worked with the Wounded Warriors a lot about mindset, a lot about finding your new normal, which I think is really important post-pandemic. A lot of people are going to be going through the same similar situations as veterans do with PTS and anxiety and depression, because this pandemic has really done a number on everyone's mental health. So it became really important to me to take the skills that I developed with Uncle Sam, turn that against him a little bit, because I wasn't thrilled about, I grew up early childhood was spent in the projects, and then later in high school, I was blessed to go to a very good school in one of those very wealthy, affluent neighborhoods. And I saw how different our lives were. And I want to bridge that gap. So my goal is really bridging the gap between legacy and legal, and making sure that we transition the legacy market into legal spaces and opportunities, so that way we can buy back land, give back to the people, but also develop cannabis and the industry as a whole as something for the American people in general. It's for all of us. Like, I don't have anything against corporate cannabis. I just want to bring us all together with good food too. But mostly what I focus on is new entheogenic news and information, as well as education, because I think plant medicine is so critical to solving so many of the issues that we're dealing with now. I think we've gone a little crazy with the pharmaceuticals. It's been a little too much. We are overdosed. It's time to come back down, get back to nature, reconnect to the earth, reconnect to our ancestry, reconnect to the planet. And that's what cannabis and psychedelics like psilocybin and ayahuasca can do. And I know those are very controversial for some people, but they, when used as medicine, can be very effective, especially for veterans coping with PTS, and when used with a guide. It's really not about the consumption of the plant at the time of consumption and the psychedelic trip and experience, or even when you're high with cannabis. It's about the integration work that you do after. What realization did you have while you were smoking or consuming an edible, or while you were tripping, that you want to integrate into your life? Because it's often those big realizations we have when we're really, truly present. And that's what entheogenic medicines do. Entheogenic means connected to the divine. So plant medicine is connected to the divine. It's from the earth. It's natural medicine that we can all use. There's no one who has ever died from cannabis, ever. So yet opioids are killing us in mass. So we need to, I'm determined to find a solution for other veterans. It worked for me. I used to get some really crazy migraines, almost psychedelic migraines, which is how I kind of figured out. And we'll have to save that, Danielle, for another day.
I know.
I wish I wasn't stuck in traffic. But
no worries.
Be here. That's as short as I could possibly make it. I know we're pressed for time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. There was a lot of great, amazing information. Like, Leo, oh my God, I'm just blown away by this show, this entire show. Let's bring our other two.
You know what though, Danielle, don't be blown away, because what me, Chris, and Jose and Shaun have done is we have given all of you tax-paying citizens a better return on investment than a suicide, and you're at 22 a day of those. You tax-paying citizens spent about $3 million on me. That's what it cost you to train me, send me off to war, pay me, and so on and so forth. And when a veteran commits suicide, you tax-paying citizen don't recoup that money. And so when you have people like the four of us doing the things that we're doing, it's a better rate of return on investment than a suicide, if you ask me. So don't be blown away. Be grateful. You getting your money's worth now, girl.
I'm forever grateful. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, each of you, for your service. Thank you, each of you, for being here and the work that you're doing. I will be following up with each of you separately about specific things. So before we go, Shaun and Jose, do you have final products to show us? Do we know what?
Mine is going to take 35 minutes to bake.
Okay,
so
not a problem. They're going to see it on Instagram. So we'll show it on Instagram later.
That's right. I will post it on Instagram, and I will send it to HEMP&fork so that you guys can post it. But that's the beauty of it. It's only 10 minutes to make, and then you can go on, do a live Facebook for an hour, and then come back and have it.
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan. Everyone, just a reminder, we have the first that I've ever known of, a buy one, get one sale. Okay. So our hemp hearts, head to hemp&fork.com, grab yourself a bag, get another bag and give it to a veteran. Or if you're a veteran, you have 2 for yourself. So please head to the website for the entire month of November, but it actually starts today. We're honoring our veterans and we want to get these bags in your hands. So please head over to the website. The code is BOGO. All right, y'all, that's our show. Unless, Leo, do you have any parting words for our guests and our viewers?
Hey, re-engage your veteran population. We are a very powerful tool if wielded correctly. And thank you, and thank you for this, guys. I really appreciate you. Shout out to Roz McCarthy and Eric Range at M for MM. You know, thank you, Danielle and the little one. And you guys can find me at the CWCB Expo in New York, November 4th through the 6th. You know, so come hang out. Let's talk.
All right, y'all. Until next month. We'll see you next month.
Take care.
Thank you for
See you
cooking
guys.
from the heart.